Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I can't hear you. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, that's so much better. Welcome. Oh, yeah, you know who that was. That was Mr. Krabs, Captain Krabs there. Good morning and welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's in-person and online worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're still glad you're with us. My name is Sam Sherry. I am the interim deputy assistant junior chair of the nominating committee. We'll get to that later. We are a growing community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. We welcome those anywhere who are joining us on Zoom. If you are here and you're attending for the first time, if you're on Zoom and attending for the first time, please go to our website and fill out the welcome card so we can know more about you. It's time for me to share announcements from the box or that were handed to you. Did you know that 83.4% of statistics were made up on the spot? 205,355, 109 pledges, 95.5% of targets. The latest update on the FY24 pledge drive. If you want more details, the person to see is David Wilcox. David, where are you? He's over there in his sweater vest. This from Julie Harrison. It's from the Social Justice Committee. We, the Social Justice Committee, hope you, everybody here and everybody on Zoom, will join us, the Social Justice Committee, next Sunday at 1 o'clock for the first discussion of the Common Read, which is Mistakes and Miracles, Session 1. Every congregation has a story. The book quotes, and I'm quoting this slip, storytelling takes time, and in that sense, it is an act of resistance in a culture like ours, which values the quick and efficient. We will begin by asking, what is our story? What have our experiences been regarding reevaluating systemic bias in our church or other organizations? This session will take place in place. You must be present to win. For the full schedule of discussion series, check the Social Justice Bulletin board in the foyer or the e-blast. Last, by all means least, we have an announcement from the nominating committee. The nominating committee is, at the moment, is myself, Susan Selby, there she is, and Nanine Chase Ortiz and Lee Shenton, who unfortunately are not here. We are rounding the final bend. If you are interested in learning more about participating on the board of trustees, please see me or Susan Selby after the service is done. Or you can email me, sam@samsherry.com. Act now, supplies are limited. Now we invite you to take this opportunity to silence your cell phone. Or, better yet, you can silence someone else's cell phone so that we can be fully present with one another. After the service, please grab a cup of coffee in the kitchen window and stay for conversation. We encourage you to find someone you haven't met before and introduce yourself. Those on Zoom can stay on Zoom and connect with one another. Now it's time to center our hearts and our minds with the ringing of the chimes. Thank you, Dale.
Good morning. Good morning. What a joy to see you today, even on this beautiful day when you could be outside and you're choosing to be here. Thank you. So for those of you who I have not met yet, my name is Reverend Tara, and I use the pronouns she, her, and they, them. I'm the transitional minister here at Allen A2U2 Church. And I want to say that whoever you are and wherever you are on your life's journey, we welcome you here. We are so glad you're with us. So this weekend, part of our congregation has been on retreat at Ferry Beach in Saco, where they come together each year with the UU churches in Norway and Auburn, and many are still there this morning. So you are the strong but mighty group. And I spent the day there yesterday with them, and it was a delight to witness everybody looking relaxed, not talking about church business, enjoying the sun and the sea, away from email and phone calls and the demands of our daily lives. And so this morning we come together in that same spirit, a spirit of renewal, a spirit of presence, and a spirit of rest. We come together to this place and this moment across distance and across time, made sacred by our being here together. And so as we let ourselves arrive fully in body, in spirit, and in mind, listen to the call of our choral introit, meditation on breathing. As you listen, breathe and arrive, and consider yourself joyfully called to worship.
Breathe in,
The late theologian Walter Brueggemann writes that multitasking is the drive to be more than we are, to control more than we do, extend our power and our effectiveness. Such practice yields a divided self, he says, with full attention given to nothing. And so let us light our chalice this morning with our full attention, our full selves with full hearts, here and now. And we light a second candle this morning, a candle of community, in celebration of AAPI, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, a time to celebrate and give thanks for the witness and richness that diversity brings our communities, to bear witness to the ongoing AAPI violence and hate in our country and around the world. Will you take a breath with me? Our opening hymn is number 204 in your gray hymnal or up on the screen, Come, O Sabbath Day. Dale will play it through once, and then we'll rise in body or in spirit and sing together. Who can tell me what a sabbatical is? Has anyone ever taken one of those? You have? What's a sabbatical?
A break in time where you can really reflect and renew yourself.
A break in time where you can reflect and renew yourself. Can anybody tell me what a Sabbath is? We're not sure. What'd you say? A day of rest. What about Shabbat or Shabbos? Same. Okay, so what do all these words have in common? Rest. rest. The root word of all of these in Greek is Sabbaton. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it, but what it means is rest. What are some other ways, any of you down here on the rug know, what are some other ways that we take times of rest? Any idea? When you go to sleep, exactly. What about vacation? Anything else? Vacation, sleep. What about you adults?
Nap.
We don't rest. We don't rest. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. Anything else? A nap, you said, Dave. A nap. Hammocking. Which? The weekend. Not for ministers, but for normal people. Amen. Anything? Day of mindfulness. Beautiful. Silent retreats, right? Or talking retreats. Retirement, not for these people. I don't know a single person in here who has a quiet retirement, but that is very, very true. It could be. So I want to read you a chapter of the Jewish sacred story. It's the end of the first chapter of the book of Genesis and the very beginning of the second chapter. And in this sacred story, we get some of the roots of where this particular framing of an idea about rest came from. So in the story, God looked over everything that God had made. People, plants, animals, all the sorts of things you can possibly think of, night and day. And God said, "It is so good. All of this together is so very good." And it was evening and it was morning, the sixth day. Heaven and earth were both finished, down to the last beautiful detail. By the seventh day, God had finished God's work. They rested from all of their work, and God blessed the seventh day. They said, "This day is holy," because on that day they rested from their work, all the creating God had done. It was holy because they rested. That's it. That's the story. So grown-ups will get to dig into that a little bit later, and I now want to invite up Emily, who will invite up our lamplighter.
In a few moments, some of us will go to religious education programming where we will form a small ukulele band and work on some hymns for next week. But first, I invite our lamplighter, Aya, to join me in the pulpit. A lamplighter is entrusted to transfer the light of the sanctuary chalice to the lamp and then go forth to RE spaces where they will light the chalices there. Aya will now light the lamp. This one. A little less. There. I invite those going to RE to follow the lamplighter. Aya, grab the lamp as we carry the flame, expanding our sacred space.
I have a prayer to share with you this morning called Welcoming Sabbath, and it's a Friday evening prayer from the New Union Jewish Prayer Book. Our noisy day has now descended with the sun beyond our sight. In the silence of our praying place, we close the door upon the hectic joys and fears, the accomplishments and anguish of the week we have left behind. What was but moments ago the substance of our life has become a memory. What we did must now be woven into what we are. On this day, we shall not do, but be. We are to walk the path of our humanity, no longer ride unseeing through the world. We do not touch and only vaguely sense. No longer can we tear the world apart to make our fire. On this day, heat and warmth and light must come from deep within ourselves. May it be so. Amen.
We are a freely gathered, open, and welcoming faith community, supported by your contributions. Each week, 1/3 of our offering is given away to a nonprofit organization whose mission aligns with our Unitarian Universalist principles. This month's Share the Plate recipient is Youth and Family Outreach, a year-round full-day early care and education program whose mission is to alleviate the effects of poverty on local families with young children through education and child care. You can find more information in your order of service. Donations can be made now as the basket is passed, or through the donate button on our website, or if you're a member, on Breeze. If you're giving on Breeze, please make sure to note that your donation is pledge or a gift to our Share the Plate. If you're visiting for the first time or the first time in a long while this morning, Please know that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and very gratefully received.
Ode to Buttoning and Unbuttoning My Shirt by Ross Gay. No one knew, or at least I didn't know they knew, what the thin discs threaded here on my shirt might give me in terms of joy. This is not something to be taken lightly, the gift of buttoning one's shirt. Slowly, top to bottom, or bottom to top, sometimes. Sometimes the buttons will be on the other side. And I am a woman that morning, slipping the glass through its slot. I tread differently that day, or some of it anyway. My conversations are different, and the car bomb slicing the air and the people in it for a quarter mile, and the honeybees' legs furred with pollen mean another thing to me than on the other days, which too have been drizzled in this simplest of joys. In this world of spaceships and subatomic this and that, too, maybe 3 times a day. Some days I have the distinct pleasure of slowly untethering the one side from the other, which is like unbuckling a stack of vertebrae with delicacy, for I must only use the tips of my fingers, with which I will one day close my mother's eyes. This is as delicate as we can be in this life. Practicing like this, giving the raft of our hands to the clumsy spider and blowing soft until she lifts her damp heft and crawls off. We practice like this, pushing the seed into the earth like this, first in the morning, then at night. We practice sliding the bones home.
I have to retune a string, but I'll say something about the song first. Darkness, Darkness by Jesse Colin Young. I've known it a very long time. But it wasn't until I was old enough to go through a really difficult time that I realized that sometimes rest is forced on us, and we don't have that much choice. And we have to rest. So that's what this song is about, in my opinion. Little prayer that the string doesn't break, please. It's been going up and down a lot this week. I didn't stand up and say it's a joy to play with my daughter, but one can only. Sorry, guys. Darkness,
Saying yes and saying no are companions in the process of constituting a whole and holy life, writes womanist and Black Catholic theologian M. Sean Copeland in her book, Practicing Our Faith. Saying yes and saying no not only shape who we are, but also what the world will be. In the Hebrew story of Genesis, it was God's yeses and nos that shaped and created the world. First light, then the sky, earth and plants, night and day, living creatures of all kinds, humankind, and a breathtaking diversity of plants. Yes, 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 God said in God's creation, it is good. And then we hear in this story what is perhaps God's first no. And on the seventh day, God finished the work that God had done, and God rested on the seventh day from all the work. So she blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested. God finished the work and then rested. And I'd like to point out that the text does not say the work was finished, so God rested, right? Nor does it say that God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it because the work was finished. The seventh day was blessed and hallowed, named as sacred, precisely because God said no. The title of this sermon, The Deep Yes of Sabbath, might bring to mind the popular phrase, behind every no is a deep, resounding yes. But this statement, this phrase that I've heard a whole bunch in all sorts of different contexts, flies in the face of everything that we know in 2023 about consent. And it's not what I mean. No means no, and no is a complete sentence. The deeper yes to which I refer is a yes described by M. Sean Copeland when she reflects on how challenging it can be to say no. She writes, sometimes the most heartfelt and vigorous no languishes and withers because we are not sufficiently prepared for its full meaning and outcomes. In order for a no to be effective, it must be placed in the context of a life-affirming yes. Of a life-affirming yes. Now, I have had my fair share of struggles saying no, and I'm sure you have too. Any nods? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Back in 2019, I spent a summer training as a chaplain in an urban hospital. Between intensive group work, rounds, visits, overnights in the emergency room, I was sometimes working up to 90 hours a week, multiple weeks strung together without a full day away from the hospital. And when I finished this experience, arriving home on my last day, I remember collapsing onto the couch and saying to my roommate, "Never again." Do you think I might have done it again? And then fall arrived that year, and I was taking seminary classes and teaching yoga and spending the weekends with my congregation, which was 2 hours away from where I lived. And I loved every moment of it until a few months in, I remember beginning to feel what I call capital T tired. And I realized I had indeed done it again. I was working 7 days a week. Oops. And I bet I'm not the only one, though, who has done that. Looking at you, folks. Have you ever done that before? Not just with paid work, but with parenting, caring for your parents or your spouse, being in school, realizing that you haven't really taken a break in a long time. And we can feel the same about our work as God felt about her work in the story. It is good. It's all good. But still, God rested. And that rest was not only good, it had been blessed. It was hallowed, holy. And so that year, a friend and I decided we would be accountability partners in our attempt to establish a weekly Sabbath practice. We consulted a peer who'd had this kind of practice for years, and she shared with us that she had had a Sabbath coach. A Sabbath coach. So the three of us got together to strategize, and we mined the friend with the Sabbath coach for wisdom. All of this to figure out how to take a day off. Kind of embarrassing. And while I laugh now, thinking back about being so afraid to let go of control and surrender to the sacredness of rest time, that we essentially created a strategic plan, I actually did get a lot out of those conversations. And what I remember most clearly was my friend's response to the question, "What do you hope to get out of this practice?" My friend said, "To remember who I am in a world that is constantly telling me who and how to be. To remember who I am in a world that is constantly telling me who and how to be." In the story of Genesis, God seems pretty pleased with that first no. And I can't say I share the same feeling when I try to slow down, probably because I'm not God. The reality is that the world is constantly telling us how and who to be. And we can get sucked deep into a place of feeling that what we do is who we are and what we are worth. A feeling that what we do is who we are and what we are worth. So we say yes, like God on those first 6 days. We do and create and build and care, give and fix, and we call it good. And when we're brave enough to say no, to stop before the work is done, claiming back time as ours and hallowing it, it's not necessarily going to feel holy, but we know that it is. We might actually feel purposeless, untethered, lonely, or bored. We might feel our chest tighten with anxiety or the weight of a blanket of grief. We might begin to realize that we are completely addicted to our screens, our jobs. We might feel like without the race to constantly do, with time to just be, we're not sure we know who we really are. Dr. Copeland writes that sometimes the most heartfelt and vigorous no languishes and withers because we are not sufficiently prepared for its full meaning and outcomes. And I wonder if perhaps this is because we have yet to place it in the context, in the larger context of a life-affirming yes. And perhaps, for some of us, the context of a life-affirming yes is allowing ourselves to remember who we are in this world that is constantly telling us who and how to be. Think of how we describe ourselves. My own list is something like, I'm a minister, I'm a Unitarian Universalist, a partner, a sibling, a friend, an auntie, a former athlete. Think for a moment. How would you describe yourself? What would you list? And then imagine letting it all fall away. Drop the title, the job, the family or relationship, the life you show to the outside world, the narrative about who and how you are constructed by the world you inhabit. Who are you now? What of you is left? Perhaps the context of a life-affirming yes is remembering that we are holy and whole, beloved and sacred, in ways that our levels of productivity will never have the power to touch. And the context of our yeses and nos is changing each and every day. So our practice of rest, too, must change. My weekly 6-day pilgrimage to the Sabbath once looked like not being home enough and too much time in constant contact with other people. But during the COVID lockdown, a Saturday at home didn't feel so novel. A screen-free day, or even part of a day, however, is one thing that I believe God would definitely have called good. And I'm not convinced one day per week of intentional rest works or is accessible to everybody. To have time and spaciousness in life is a privilege that not all of us have. But perhaps we can take Sabbath moments, pauses throughout our day or week where we sink deep into that deep well of being fully who we are, even if we can't stay for long. Perhaps we can be intentional about using that evening with no meetings as an evening-long vacation. This is a favorite practice of mine. On the no evening meeting days, when I wrap up my work and close my computer, I say out loud, I'm on vacation until tomorrow. It's truly restful and life-giving for me. And so I wonder and would love to hear later, what works for you? What works for the particularities of you and your personality and your life? Copeland writes that learning when and how, to what and to whom, to give our yes or our no is a lifelong project. It's learning to live not merely in dull balance or tedious moderation, but in passionate, disciplined choice and action. It is learning to find support and challenge, courage and correction as we live out our own choices. So I invite you who are inclined to do to take a pause from the doing, to choose time to close screens, silence phones, leave the house even, to allow what you have done to be woven into who you are, and to delight in the simplest of joys in this world, like buttoning buttons. May it be so. and blessed be. Our closing hymn this morning is number 1064 in your teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home. Dale will play through once, and then we'll rise in body or in spirit and join our voices as one. No longer can we tear the world apart to make our fire. On this day and in this week to come, heat and warmth and light must come from deep within ourselves. Friends, may your light shine bright as you leave this place, knowing always that you are held in a love beyond our understanding. Go in peace.